Alright, welcome to my studio at 11 o'clock at night on Saturday night for my Week 7 NFL predictions. It's been a crazy week because so many things have happened. I was on vacation, and then I forgot to upload the video, and then all of a sudden when I get home and I'm trying to upload the video, I've been working on this for 4 days now, and it constantly just keeps telling me, oh, your storage is messing up, it's deleting the whole video, and so it keeps deleting the video. So I'm still trying to figure out what the heck's going wrong with my editing app, because it's not letting me export the video and post it on YouTube. And so I'm spending all these hours trying to figure this out, and sorry for that rustling noise over there, my cat's in a bag, but I mean, it's 11 o'clock at night on Saturday again. Once I finally release the Week 6 video, you'll read that. But it's the most frustrating thing for a content creator to create all this content, spend all these hours editing this content and trying to make it good for you guys, and then just for your editing app or YouTube just to not accept the video. So, I mean, it's going to be a minute before I get that one out, and I'll try to edit this one and get this one done. If you can't see on my camera, my crazy cat's deciding to be over there messing with all that stuff. Hi, baby. Yeah, she wants to be in the video too. In case you can't tell, it's been a long week. I'm gonna make a separate video explaining all of this, what's actually going on, and why I haven't been uploading. But I mean, it's been a stressful week for me and for being a content creator and not being able to post all these videos. Plus, my whole family's asleep right now. It's 11 o'clock at night. But besides all that and all the drama, what's been going on with me, we got some Week 7 predictions to do. So maybe if the cat will decide to be quiet over there, we can get started on them. Yes, so Week 7. Week 6 was a crazy week. Week 7 was started off even crazier with a 31-24 win for Jaguars. Of course, I didn't get to predict that game because it's Saturday night, but I would predict the Jaguars. So same thing, which when I finally released a video on Week 6, I did say that I would have counted the Chiefs when I bet the Chiefs as well. So I did think that the Jaguars were going to win. That was a pretty good win for the Jags that game. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Make sure you tell me down below what is your predictions for Week 7 of the NFL. All right. We're going to get started with our first matchup at noon tomorrow. We don't have a London game for the first time in 3 weeks. So starting at noon tomorrow, we got the Detroit Lions, 5-1, probably one of the best teams in the league. Detroit Lions versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Detroit Lions are on fire. Like I said in my Week 6 video, which you guys have probably seen by now. Like I said, this is more explaining why I haven't uploaded it yet, or why it took so long to upload, because as of right now, filming hasn't been uploaded yet, but whatever. You probably have seen it, maybe. The Lions are the biggest surprise team. Ever since I've been born, they were the laughingstock of the league. Every time the Lions played football, I was just like, haha, the Lions suck. Same thing. Every single person did the same thing. But they're playing the Ravens this week, and even though the Lions have been on fire this year, they have a great team. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they got one of the best teams in the NFL right now. They are one of the only 5-1 teams, which is crazy because 17 years of life, I've never seen the Detroit Lions do that. But they're also playing the Baltimore Ravens, who are also a pretty good team. They played a London game last week, and it was a pretty good game. They had a really rough struggle on offense. The last couple of weeks, I feel like they've been more of a struggle team, not being that solid of a team like they used to be. And so they're getting to the midseason, where always for the Ravens in midseason, it always gets a little bit of a struggle for them every year, I think, till they barely squeeze it to the playoffs. And now they're playing a 5-1 Lions team that's not struggling whatsoever. I don't think that the Ravens stand a chance this week at all. So I am going the Detroit Lions to beat the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be a fun one. The Raiders and the Bears. The Bears are a team that, like what I said in my brother's fantasy league, in our league, where he was a bad team and he finally got his groove, finally started playing good football, won his first game, going on a journey. He's pretty much the Chicago Bears. I mean, the Chicago Bears were doing so great. Then they got a big chance against the Vikings. They fell apart, and they lost their quarterback and lost it to injuries, and they just kind of blew the game. Last week in fantasy football, my brother was playing Justin Fields, David Montgomery, and I believe one other player got injured. I can't remember his name right now. It's really rough. But the Bears have been going for the rough luck. There we go, Zach. Learn to speak. They were playing great football, and then now all of a sudden they're going to stay 1-5 because they're without Justin Fields this week. They're playing against a Raiders team who has won the last couple of games. But if you're looking at this, the Raiders are playing Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer is going to be their quarterback for this week. And so the Bears also have a pretty big chance of winning this one. This is another terrible game for the Bears that I think that the Bears are just like this team that everybody's not going to want to watch. Now they're playing the Raiders, and they have a big chance because they're playing Brian Hoyer, who has one of the biggest losing streaks in NFL right now. But we're also looking at this team. DJ Moore, I don't think will be like as competitive as the wide receivers like Devontae Adams or Jacoby Myers or Hunter Renfrow for that matter. Even Josh Jacobs for them, and they're really going to rely on Josh Jacobs this week. He's going to be a heavy man playing. While the Bears, they have Devonta Foreman as their main back. I can't quit shaking my tripod. Thank you. Anyways, the Bears have this, they don't really have the running backs that are injured to rely on this week. So they're really going to have to rely on DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney and Scott and Jones and Taylor. They're going to have to rely on these wide receivers, but they're playing a Raiders team who I think is more of a powerhouse team and more has a big chance to beat them. And so even though this is going to be a bad game, it's going to be another toilet bowl, I do think that the Raiders are going to come out on top. The Browns, the shocker team. Them and the Jets were shocker teams last week, that's for sure. I was shocked on those games. But they're playing the Indianapolis Colts, who I believe are still playing Minshew because Anthony Richardson's season is probably over. So they're playing Gardner Minshew, who lost last week in a devastating loss. But they're playing the Browns, that nobody expected to beat the Niners. They go in there and they lost Nick Chubb. They're playing terrible football, I think. The week before that, they played miserable, only scored 3 points. They beat the best team in the league. Not only did they beat the best team in the league, but they beat the best team in the league because of their defense. Shut out Brock the Laser Purdy. Their defense shut him out. Shut out their awesome wide receivers. Shut out their awesome running back in Christian McCaffrey. They really shut him out. It's not like the offense did that much, but the defense can really shut him out. And now they're playing a struggling Colts team with Gardner Minshew and... they have Gardner Minshew. Zach Moss is a guy I traded for this week, and he's been a monster so far, but I think that they can contain them. And especially with Gardner Minshew, where they don't have a main big quarterback, I feel like that the Browns, carried by their defense, are going to come through, win this game against the Colts. Even though I am a Colts supporter, I do like Anthony Richardson. He's a Florida Gator. Go Gators. But I don't feel like the Gardner Minshew Colts, especially struggling as they are, can beat this Browns team, not with their offense, but just with their defense. The Bills and the Patriots. The Bill Belichick-led Patriots that suck, are one of the worst teams in the league. Besides the Panthers, I think that they are a worst team in the league. They are worse than the Chicago Bears. That is saying something. That is saying something. These last couple of weeks, even though they had an offense last week, they're still not a good team, and they're not even going to remotely be considered a good team, I don't think at all. Their only win was against the Jets. I feel like that this is a team that is just miserable. Honestly, very miserable to watch. They are a team that has a lot of potential. Mac Jones has a lot of potential. Stevenson, Ezekiel Elliott are good backs. KJ Bourne, Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, that's a decent enough wide receiver core. But they can't fold it together. No matter how good their defense can be, their offense just cannot fold it together. They're playing the Bills, who had a miserable week last week against the Giants, but they are coming in here, and they are great. I did get Josh Allen as part of that Zach Moss trade. I'm expecting, after a terrible game against Jacksonville and a terrible game against the Giants, I'm expecting Josh Allen to be like, you know what? We got to snap in here, and we got to get a win here. And what better chance to do it against the division rivals, the worst team in the league, the New England Patriots. It's going to be a blowout, and I'm super excited because I need the Josh Allen to do great because I'm playing the best team in the league this week. The 3-3 Commies, the Commanders, or the Redskins, or whatever the heck you want me to call them, versus the 1-5 Giants. Scratch that. Patriots aren't the worst. The Giants are the worst. There's a lot of terrible teams this year. Can I steal the words of that guy from That's Good Sports? Can I? I'm going to. Right before I filmed this, I was watching his video of the worst game against the Giants and the Bills. That video. Go check it out. It's absolutely hilarious. But he said that this is going to be the worst year in football, and I genuinely do think that's going to be true, because we got teams like the Panthers who haven't won a game. We got the 1-5 Giants. We got the 1-5 Patriots. We got the 1-5 Bears. We got the Colts, who lost Anthony Richardson, who's going to be Rookie of the Year, to injury. We got a 5-1 Lions. What is going on here? Speaking of the Giants, they suck. They absolutely suck. They could have won against the Bills, and then they didn't, because they had 2 goal line opportunities, and they screwed it up. They screwed up not 1, but 2 at the very end of each half. Goal line opportunities that would have gave them the win. All they had was field goals. They didn't get a single touchdown that time. I'm sure Daniel Jones got sacked 110 times because their offensive line is looking like a high school team. It is miserable to watch. And every time that the Giants are on field playing some football, it is absolutely terrible to watch. And I hate watching all these games because it feels like a terrible team. It feels like a waste of money because Daniel Jones costs so much. Then they're playing the Commanders, who are a team who finally, I feel like, snapped back into their form that they were at the beginning of the year. They lost 3 in a row, and they needed to snap back in, and they really did last week against the Falcons. I still really think that they are a solid enough team. Sam Howell's good enough. Brian Robinson's good enough. They have a great wide receiver court. And playing against the 1-5 Giants, I don't doubt for any second that they're going to become 4-3. They definitely are. And so the Commanders are going to win this game against the Giants. The Falcons, who also lost to the Commanders, they are playing the Buccaneers this week. The Buccaneers are still a good team. I still stand by it. They had a rough week against the Lions, but we've already discussed this. The Lions are one of the best teams in the league. They've had a rough week against them. People can have rough weeks. It's okay. But now they're playing the Falcons, who also had a really rough week. Desmond Ridder looked absolutely terrible last week. Desmond Ridder is hit or miss. The offense in general is hit or miss. Buccaneers as a whole team, I think, is a pretty good team. I think that the Buccaneers are a really good team, and it doesn't matter how many games they lose. They have one of the most underrated teams. Baker Mayfield takes place Tom Brady, and he's doing great. In fact, I saw something on Facebook the other day that put him up with a big 3, and I'm like, what is Baker doing here? But he has potential to do that. They got a great wide receiver court. Let's look at this wide receiver court real quick. They have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. That is a great wide receiver court. On side, they have Rashid White. That is a pretty good team, and they're playing good football. It's mainly the schedule putting up against these powerhouse teams that are gotten them their losses. And on top of that, they only have 2 losses. They are 3-2. They had their bye week. They are a good team, I think. They're playing the Falcons, which is a really hit or miss team. They started off really strong, but these last couple of weeks, it's either they have a great offensive performance or their offense doesn't show up at all, and Desmond Ridder throws 4 picks. That is the kind of hit or miss that I am talking about here. And so I feel like the Buccaneers can get 4-2 here. Like I said, I still feel like they have a solid team. They always make it a competition no matter who they are playing. And so I feel like they're playing the Atlanta Falcons. It's going to be a great game, but the Buccaneers, I feel, are going to walk up this one. The division rival, Cardinals and the Seahawks. This is going to be a great game. The Seahawks come off a loss against the Bengals. Really sad, but it's funny because Joe Burrow finally showed back up, and he's finally an NFL quarterback again instead of being a scared little boy on the field. But they played a great game against the Seahawks. The Seahawks played great. Kenneth Walker played great. Geno messed up the end, but he also played great. They had a big chance to win. And now they're playing the Cardinals, who I was really hoping they did good. They started doing good. They beat the Cowboys, looking to go up for them, and then they lost. And they lost again, and then they lost again. And it was loss after loss for the Cardinals, and they started looking like this old team, specifically because they don't have Kyler Murray out because of injuries. But I do feel like if Kyler Murray was in here anyways, it would still be the same kind of bull crap to where they suck, because I feel like Joshua Dobbs is a better quarterback than him. But they're playing a Seahawks team that are going to come back and rebound. Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker is a great running back. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, what is his name? Jackson Smith-Njigba. These are some great players on the offense, while Arizona, even though they do have some big names, Ingram is running back, Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore, they have good players. They just can't really get their act together, and they're still a young, struggling team. I feel like the Seahawks are going to come and take this division rivalry right off the bat. Pittsburgh coming after bye week against the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams they're not having a terrible season. They're 3-3. But they're kind of like That's their record that's really messing up. Last week they didn't play the greatest team, but they won 2 in a row now. They beat the Colts. Last week they won. And so now they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are coming after the bye week. For some reason they're 3-2. Kenny Pickett is not a good quarterback. I really don't feel like Kenny Pickett is a good quarterback at all, and I do not trust him. He throws a lot of picks. Somehow they just keep winning games, and I feel like it's their schedule playing bad teams. Now they're playing the Rams team, which has Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Tyler Atwell, that they're all back. They have a good running backs. Well, Kyron Williams isn't in, so they don't have great running backs, but they normally would have. Matthew Stafford isn't a terrible quarterback. Part of the reason the Rams weren't great last year was because they lost Cooper Kupp to injury. This is a Rams team that's going to turn their season around. And now they're playing a 3-2 Pittsburgh Steelers that, even though they're 3-2, they are still struggling here. They are not playing great football. They're just playing bad teams that can also not play great football, and they're just becoming the winning side of them. And so now that they're playing the Rams, I feel like the Rams have a big chance at becoming 4-3 and turning their season around completely, and I don't think that they're going to lose another game in several weeks. The Steelers are going to, unfortunately, be 3-3. The Packers coming off their bye week versus the Denver Broncos. I scratched that. They're even worse than the Giants. They're even worse than the Panthers. They're even worse than the Bears. They're even worse than, who's that other 1-5 team that I was talking about earlier? The Patriots. They're even worse than all them because it's the Packers. I mean, it's the Broncos. They are not good. Russell Wilson cannot cook for his life. Every time they play a game, it turns into a that's good sports. Worst game because they just can't hold on to the football. They suck. They're just a miserable team. They played the Chiefs last week. Their defense played good football, but do I ever think that their defense is going to keep playing good football? No. Packers, on the other hand, started off strong, but the last couple of weeks, specifically the 3 losses in a row, they have not looked like a good football team. So Packers fans have been very nervous for them, but I feel like a matchup against the Broncos, who Broncos on the outside is a very good team. They got Russell Wilson, they got Javonte Williams, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton. They got pretty good players, but they just can't form a team, and they're not doing great. Meanwhile, the Packers, Aaron Jones, I think, is he even questionable anymore? He is still questionable, but they got Jordan Love, who's still a solid quarterback at heart. Aaron Jones, they have a great wide receiver core. Watson, Dobbs, who I'm still mad about for a couple weeks ago. Reed, they got a pretty good wide receiver core. They're just also a young team led by a young quarterback who's barely had any starting time. But I feel like that they can get another win this season against the Broncos, who are just a team that on paper should be good, but they're just miserable to watch, man. They are terrible. The final 325 game, it's my KC Chiefs, baby, all the way, versus the Los Angeles Chargers. This is going to be a game. The Chargers started off looking great. They started off 0-3, but they were looking great. Actually, was it 0-2 or 0-3? I don't remember because they lost last week against the Dallas Cowboys, but they can always hold their own against these great teams. Their offense is great. It's mainly a head coaching problem, what all their struggles are for. You're playing a 5-1 Chiefs team, though, with Mahomes, Pacheco, McKinnon as running back, Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, Justin Ross. Not a great team, not a great wide receiver core as well, but they also got the GOAT Mahomes. And if he can make something out this wide receiver core, if he can win a Super Bowl with some of these players, he doesn't have a big man to throw to besides Kelsey, of course. But if he hits up Kelsey, and if he finds one of these players, they might not get a lot of fantasy points fantasy-wise, but sometimes he can just count on these players, specifically on his legs. Mahomes is just doing wonders again this year. Screw all the people who are like, oh, it's the flags. You're only doing good because of the flags. Go ahead and shut up, because that's not true. The Kansas City Chiefs are also having a great year so far, and they're not going to slow down against the Chargers. So unfortunately for Chargers, who are a team that is a good team, they're just having an unfortunate year. They're going to be 2-4 because they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, the GOATs. The Miami Dolphins, and this is a great game. The Miami Dolphins and the 5-1 Eagles, another upset where they played the Jets, who are on a bye week this week, but they played the Jets, and the Jets beat the Eagles. Same thing with the Niners. They had a miserable performance, and the way this week performs out, I also think that the NFL is scripted. I am hereby convinced, because of the way this week plays out, that the NFL is scripted. So the Dolphins play the Eagles. Dolphins had a bad game against the Bills. Besides that, they look great. If you have anybody on your fantasy team, play them because they are going to have a massive game each time. This is going to be a ginormous shootout. This is going to be another shootout like I feel like the Chargers and the Chiefs will be. Just big shootouts, big offense games. Because the Dolphins have Tyreek Hill. They have, I clicked the wrong game. They have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, who's great. Jeff Wilson, who's doing okay. They just have a great team led by Tua Tagovailoa. Meanwhile, the Eagles also have a great team. But is it just me, or am I kind of feeling like the Eagles kind of are struggling just a little bit? Sure, they started out undefeated, but they kind of had a couple of nasty losses, kind of like the Chiefs this year. They still got a great team. Swift at running back, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith as their wide receivers. I got A.J. Brown, and people keep trying to go for him, and I'm not getting rid of him. This is sure to be a shootout, but I kind of feel like the Dolphins are going to come out here and take the win here, and I feel like the Dolphins have a chance of becoming 6-1. This is the Dolphins' second game of the year where it's actually going to be a real big challenge for them, and I feel like they could come up and prove that they're not just a team that could beat bad teams. They lost against the Bills, but I feel like against the Eagles, they can come up and win, especially against the Eagles, who I feel like aren't as great as they once were. They're still good, but they're not as great. And our final game, the Monday Night Football game, the 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, I'm a big Vikings fan. We got our first win against the Bears, so I don't have to shove my head in the wall, like I said in the Week 6 video. But it was a very nasty win. It still wasn't a good win because it's sad because we still played the Bears and we had a pretty big chance at losing. But we played the Bears and we won, and so I'll take our second win. We're playing the 5-1 Niners, who lost last week against a Cleveland Browns team who, like I said, have a pretty good defense. Not even the offense that did it. It was the defense that could show them out. The Vikings' defense is horrible. They have a horrible defense. They have a horrible fumbling area where the San Francisco 49ers have a great defense. And I feel like coming off that loss, the 49ers are going to come in here and prove to them, you know what? We lost against the Browns. We should have won that game. We're going to prove no mercy to the Minnesota Vikings. And even though the Vikings are great, I think they're still without Justin Jefferson. And unless they're playing the Bears or the Panthers or somebody, I don't think that they can get another win unless they play a terrible team until Justin Jefferson comes back, because they're still a struggling team. So the Niners take that one. Like I said, I'm so sorry about not getting these videos out. I'm still going to try to figure it out, I promise. But this was my Week 7 predictions. Stay tuned for my main channel. Eventually, I will get the Saw video series filmed. It is late at night, but I was planning on doing it today. I will get all those filmed this weekend, I promise. They will be uploaded these next couple of days. I have a lot of videos coming up. But this was my Week 7 NFL predictions. Let me know yours down below. And with that said, thank you for clicking on this video. Subscribe, join the Nerd Army, and have a good night, as it is midnight right now. Thank you guys for clicking. Peace out.